Welcome back. Today we're reading Chapter 6 of The Fiery Foe and the Journey to the Center of the Earth. Chapter 6. There's Chapter 6. Lindenbrook'S Discovery. For a moment, the underground prince hesitated. Then, realizing that half his power was much better than no power at all, he nodded.
"You,"
announced Wolz slowly,
"will be my royal advisor." "A wise decision,"
chuckled Saknussemm. He stepped forward to the throne and pumped Wolz's pale hand in acknowledgement. Torg elbowed aside a lancer and followed his newly appointed master to the throne. He was certain he had received an appointment too.
"A chair,"
demanded Saknussemm, snapping his fingers. Instantly, 2 reargs appeared with a smaller version of the black lava slab throne. It was placed before him. Saknussemm sat down momentarily, satisfied.
"We may be fed now,"
he then informed Wolz importantly. Wolz took the bat whistle, placed it between his lips, and blew 3 times. It sounded with a high, wavering note. In moments, there was a whir of wings, and into the vast throne room flew several giant bats. Each carried a small basket of strange, bright-colored fruits. Torg grabbed a huge, peach-like fruit, but the Count angrily chopped at his wrist, forcing Torg to drop the fruit.
"Let the prince eat first,"
he reminded his short servant.
"Till this blind ruler takes a piece of that fruit,"
Saknussemm thought to himself.
"I am not fool enough to touch it. I'm wiser than he thinks."
Wolz's hand stretched forward, and he selected a luscious fruit, which looked like a combination of banana and pear. He peeled back its greenish skin and began to eat. Torg glanced at his master, who nodded. Now the seaman began to gorge on the unusual fruits. After waiting a minute more to make sure there was no slow-acting poison in the fruits, Saknussemm finally began to eat too.
"I'm hungry,"
Alec groaned when at last he was allowed to drop the lava chipping club. All the slaves had been herded into a hollow in the lava field, where they could be guarded easily while they rested a moment.
"You'll be fed just enough to keep you working tomorrow,"
said one-eyed Bramian sadly.
"But why don't you revolt? Why don't you try to overpower the guards and escape?"
asked Lindenbrook. A giant yellow-headed man laughed in reply to the professor.
"Escape? But how? The river of fire circles the lava field. We cannot cross it. Even to look at it would make us blind, as the reargs." "Their way,"
Lars insisted, beating a fist into his palm.
"We find a way, you bet."
But the other slaves only shook their heads in tired disbelief. At that moment, rear guards came around with a bowl of strange fruits, and eager hands reached out to grab the food. But the taunting guards struck away the hands and passed out a single piece of fruit to each slave. Big Lars gulped down his greenish fruit in one bite. Like all the others, he was very hungry. But the food ration was barely enough to sustain life.
Oh, Prince Wolves won't be easy to beat,
sighed Cindy.
If only we had that golden whistle of his and could command the bats. I wonder where he found the gold,
mused Alec.
All I see is lava. Gold?
Repeated a giant slave.
Gold comes from down and down, where even the people shine like gold. Their rocks float in air. The center of the earth,
exclaimed Lindenbrook.
Have you seen the golden people of whom we have heard?
The large man shook his head.
Never, but since childhood I have heard such tales. They live beyond and below my people. Oh, my people.
His eyes filled with sadness as he thought of his distant home. Professor Lindenbrook rose. The giant's words had inspired him. The search must continue, to go on. He had to find a way to escape from the dread lava fields. While he thoughtfully considered a dozen plans, he used his empty pistol to chip away at some colored rocks. Suddenly, his face glowed excitedly.
Alec,
he called. The youth hurried to his great teacher.
Yes, Professor? There is a way to escape,
whispered Lindenbrook.
Look.
He struck his pistol butt against a shiny boulder. From it, a dark mica-like sheet of stone peeled off. Alex stooped and picked it up. The silver was 1/4 of an inch thick and almost transparent.
It's like mica,
Alec concluded.
But how could this help us escape?
Before Lindenbrook could answer, they heard again the swishing sound of gliding giant bats. The creatures dove right for Lindenbrook. The pistol slipped from his hand and clattered on the lava ground. 2 pairs of claws dug into his shoulders, and before Big Lars could help, the bats were sweeping the helpless professor into the air.
Uncle Oliver!
Shrieked Cindy in horror.
Remember,
Lindenbrook called out as he was flown away.
Remember, Alec, what I said. Don't throw in the sponge.
His words were loud and distinct. The trio on the ground watched the bats circle higher and higher. Then the creatures darted off for the River of Fire and Prince Wol's palace. In the air, Lindenbrook clapped his hands over his eyes as he started to feel the searing heat of the River of Fire. After a few moments, the messenger bats carried their helpless passenger into the palace, and Lindenbrook's feet touched the black throne room floor. In front of him, wolves, Count Saxnessum and Torg, were feasting royally at a lava slab table.
Ah,
greeted the Count between large bites.
Professor Lindenbrook, I have a slight favor to ask.
What's going to happen to Professor Lindenbrook? Join me next time as we read Chapter 7,
River of Fire.
Thank you for watching. I hope you'll join me next time.